So, okay. So I just started recording, but I've been having a conversation with Sakshi, who is my beautiful, beautiful friend, who I met in a strange room, my Zoom room, where she came in as a stranger, and um, I feel so close to this person, and I feel like such a resonance with her from that 1 hour conversation. Um, and so I just had a conversation. So we decided we were going to talk again, which thrilled me and made me very happy. And we're looking for ways that we might even be able to work together by having conversations, because she has this beautiful um, inner calling to just talk with strangers. She loves talking with strangers too. Um, Can you imagine? Like, what a beautiful, who loves to talk with strangers? A guy who's having a conversations with strangers, and a woman who loves to talk with strangers. So we thought there's something here. We've got to do something more. So we set up this time to have a conversation, which is beautiful, and we're talking now. The call that I had just prior to this is still with me, because I put out a post on Facebook and all social media links that I have, saying I'm looking for people that are different than me, who think different than me. I'm looking for conservatives. I'm looking for people who aren't into the New Age movement. I'm looking for people who are who don't have a white male perspective. I'm looking for just people that are different, because I want to actually see if we listen to each other and really give each other the space, can we not fight with each other? And so I was thrilled that a woman answered and said, "Well, I'm a born again Christian, and I'm conservative in my political points of view, and I don't believe in the New Age movement, and I think it's wrong, and would that be okay?" And I said, come on board. I can't wait." What Sakshi and I have been talking about now is the set of questions that, and this was her thought, so just to give her complete credit, because of how brilliant her mind is, that there's probably going to need to be a different set of questions for people who think like me and people who don't think like me. And that was borne out by the conversation that I had, because when I asked the only question that was similar, which was really one of the only questions that I asked, which was, "I know nothing about me, please tell me who you are and what's important to you," she went into a long conversation about how Jesus was Lord, and how it was important that people be saved, and it was important that other voices that come in His name are demons, and the devil is, can look like him. And we got involved in a philosophical conversation, which I think will make a very interesting podcast recording, but I don't think it's exactly what I wanted to do in the room. And so I was sharing that with Sakshi, and that's where this conversation, then I said, hold it, we should record this. So would you share some more of your brilliance with us?
Thanks, Danny. I think in terms of what you said, and one of the first thoughts that I had was, that's brilliant, isn't it? I was thinking exactly right. That's the natural next step. You've spoken to people that think like you, and it sort of somewhere gives you some validation that, right, there's a big wide world out there, and there are similar people who think similarly, and we want to act upon the same things, do similar things. But I think a lot of us are stuck in that phase, especially when we are networking, especially when we are looking out for people to talk to. We are just stuck in that zone of, I'm going to talk to people who are similar to me, give me some validation, give me some love. That's great, but that's not growth, right?
Yeah.
Growth is here, when you have a little bit of tussle and you're wrecking your brains and you're asking a friend, I had this, different conversation. I don't agree with them. I don't know how to go about it. Was it good enough? What happened? I think this is where growth happens.
Yeah.
And that is why I thought, if you're trying to use the same strategy that you used with people who are similar to you with people who are not, it's not gonna work. You need to shift gears there a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was almost thinking, Danny, when you were saying it, that how did she know? How did she know she's different from you? I think whatever she found, maybe the way you looked, the way you spoke, what you do, she said she's different from you. She reached out, right? In her mind, there is already a preconceived notion that I'm different from you. I
Yeah.
need to prove it,
It
you
was
know?
even in the question that I asked, because I asked, which is really, I love what you're saying now, because the questions we ask determine the answers we receive a lot of ways, right? So I said, I am looking for people that are different from me, that don't believe in New Age movement, that don't believe in, that are not
Yeah.
liberal, that are not, and so she wrote back saying, I'm a conservative and I'm born again Christian. And so
Mm,
I am different from you. But again, in my question of seeking people to speak to, I
mm,
highlighted the differences with the thought of I want to be able, because one of the things we spoke about that I want to share with people here, you and I speaking, is the algorithms of the internet are so refined now
yeah,
that we don't get a
yeah,
chance to see what people who are saying different things than us say.
yeah,
We only get a
yeah,
chance to see what people say. They coordinate people of the same mind. So we're siloed in a
yeah,
belief system. So I was even thinking of creating a new Facebook page which would have exactly the opposite attributes of what I have, just to see what that might create by bring and who might really start to relate to me, because I
wow,
want to talk to the Ku Klux Klan. I want to talk to the militia people that are homesteading,
mm,
and gearing up for a big war. I want to talk to the people that hate people of different religions. I want to talk to because I want to see, is there anything that we can connect to where we can say, I understand that you don't agree with me, but
yeah,
when I listen to you and you feel heard and you feel loved and accepted and you feel acknowledged and validated, can we just go with
mm,
that? And
yeah,
what happened for me, who's even dedicating my life to doing this in this conversation with this born again woman, I was asking her about different points of belief from an Eastern perspective
mm,
and a born again Christian
yeah,
perspective. So I was highlighting differences.
yeah.
How would
I agree with
do
you.
it? How would you do it? Because I have a feeling that you just do it naturally.
How would I feel I'm not gonna lie, I have had conversations with people who are exceptionally different from me, right?
Yeah,
Some of the things that they say anger me, some of the things that they say really tick me off.
yeah,
And I've been in situations where I just have to listen, right? And I think one way of doing it is just thinking, and that is what I do. I don't know how much it works for people, but I come with the fact that they are different from me. I've established that.
yeah,
I'm not here to prove that they're different from me. So when I'm beyond that proving, I'm not here to prove you're different from me. I know that you're different from me. That's it. For me, after that, it's natural. You just ask them things because you genuinely want to learn and you want to understand, but you have established they're different from the get-go. You know,
yeah,
um, from the get-go, I know this relationship is destined to doom. So everything I do is upwards and onwards from there, right?
yeah,
That is a very, I would say that is a very negative way, but sometimes negative visualization is very important. You
yeah,
know, sometimes I feel like if I'm scared of something, I'll say, if I fail, I'll do this. If I fail again, I'll do this. And just having a plan A and plan B for failure is great
yeah.
because I'm not afraid of failure anymore. I have a plan for failure. Um, so I
I
feel like,
Go ahead. You feel like
go for it.
I, I, I,
I feel like if I wanted people who are really different from me, I would not give them any hints and tips on who I am.
hmm,
I would I would put out a blank canvas and say, you're different from me. And then for them, they have to explore how they're different from you rather than saying, we are different in religion,
I
or we are
love that.
different in faith.
I love just the conversation with you and just the space to have this conversation because what I realize as you're speaking is the conversation we had would be an interesting conversation for someone to listen to, but it isn't the conversation that I'm trying to achieve in these conversations. And the reason that I wasn't trying
Mm.
to achieve, the reason why it isn't, when I look at it now from the perspective of just sitting and talking with you, which is calming the space for me, is that I think I had an agenda. I think I had the idea of like this is what Eastern philosophy. This is you talk in parables, and you talk and Jesus talks in parables, and then you hold him to the letter of the word, and and you say this we
Yeah.
follow the exact. And I had an agenda to say that isn't true, rather than just an open heart to say, oh, please tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I got into trouble.
Or you learned.
Oh, I learned. Yeah, I think I learned. I hope I learned. I mean, we'll see. So, how do we get in touch with people that are different where we can put an empty canvas in front of them? Because right now, the way that every place that I'm putting information out seems to only go to the choir that sees a little bit differently. Like you have brown skin, I have white skin, so we're a little different. You're a beautiful woman, I'm an old man. That's we're a little bit different, right? You're in the UK,
Come on.
you're in the UK, I'm in California. We're a little bit different, but those are, and to some people those would be big differences, right? But
Yeah.
where do we find the people that are open? Like, how could we create a
Mm.
place? This is maybe the work that would be beautiful for us to try and figure out how we do. How do we
Yeah.
create a place that would be a gathering place for people that are different to feel safe enough to come to and have
Yeah.
conversation?
Yeah. I'm gonna say something that's a little bit out there and a
Please.
little weird. But if we sit with somebody, you know, and we want to have a conversation with somebody who's very different from us, we will have that conversation. And if we sit with the same person and we want to have a conversation where they're very similar to us, we'll have that conversation. You know, um, I remember when we had our first chat, Danny, you could have very well walked into the room and thought, I want to have a conversation where I bring out how dissimilar we are, right?
Yeah.
And we would have that conversation, and I would have talked about some things that you would not agree with, or it would have just come out. So I feel like after 50 plus conversations, there is probably like a need to have two item banks, let's say, two question banks of different questions, right?
Yes.
And you walk into a room and you decide, you be a blank canvas and you decide, today I want to have a conversation with somebody who's different from me. So you ask different questions.
Will you help me shape those questions?
Let's do it.
I would love that. And let
Let's
me
do
ask
it.
you something else. Would you be willing to have some of those conversations as well
Of course.
and have them come on to the 50 conversations page?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I think that would
Excited.
be I think that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
And so because I agree with you, the perspective we bring to any situation will, and part of the reason for what I was doing in the first place without rationalizing it, I think, was just that I
Mm.
wanted to find the similar, I wanted to say within 3 minutes of every conversation I have, we're going to find something similar, right? Because no matter how different you are, there's something that we believe in, and it comes out naturally.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also something, even in the book, The Mosaic, that I wrote,
Yeah.
the story is all positive and up. And
Mm.
I was talking to my muse the other day about the possibility of taking the mosaic and turning it upside down. So having the book that's right behind me turned upside down with the mosaic words being upside down. And
Mm.
where it's black, it would be white, and where it's white, it would be black. And
Yeah.
it would be the dark side of all those conversations.
Yeah.
So that in every meeting that Mo had with these people, there was a darkness to it. There was a disagreement. There was, and so it's interesting what you're saying, because there could be a whole nother way that that book could shape. And part of the reason why I was thinking of doing that is because I spoke to people who were thinking, who are in the movie industry, and they said there's not a war that's fought, and there's not a gun battle, there's not a sword fight, there's not a, like, where's the bad guy?
Mm.
So I was thinking, what would happen
Mm.
if I wrote this sort of yin yang version of it and had a separate
Yeah.
companion book that would be the dark side
Yeah.
of the mosaic?
Yeah. That is lovely. And I think one of the beautiful things about black and white is you can exchange the colors, but it still fits, right?
Yes.
You can have a lot of disagreement, but it still fits.
Yeah.
It's still a part, it's still significant, which is which is why I think even though there are colors in the world, it's still black and white, isn't it? They all
Yeah.
come from either black side or the white side. And I think a couple of days ago, Danny, I had this interesting conversation with a bunch of psychologists, and we were talking about dark psychology. Yeah. And we were just discussing dark psychology and what it means, and its sister branch, which is called positive psychology. And a lot of times, when you talk about dark psychology, people will get into things like psychopaths and antisocial behavior, and that's abnormal psychology. That is not dark psychology. I think dark psychology is more to do with what you do in your day-to-day life that hasn't assimilated, um, and it comes out in things like jokes, or
Yeah.
comments or insecurities, and I think usually, like when I do these sessions, they last 45 minutes. This one lasted an hour and a half
Wow.
because it took 45 minutes to get people into a space where they were comfortable with the topic, right?
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing was, in 45 minutes, there was one person who started sharing that, there is a dark side to me, right? And she shared that my best friend was in a competition, and she was in a dance competition, and she said, I want to win. But inside my head, I thought, I wish she didn't win, even though like I wasn't even competing. I
Yeah.
just wish she didn't win, right? And that was a trigger. Everybody then could not shut up. Everybody was sharing their dark side. I shared something, somebody shared something, and I think that is beautiful because I went into the I went into the conversation thinking today I don't wanna validate people. I don't wanna say more power to you, more love to you, more strength to you. No, I want to say we are all doing this together. We are all being bad, horrible people together, and it's okay, right?
Yeah.
It's great. We all have a dark side. And then people obviously talked about, how to stimulate it, how to use it, how to be aware of it. I think something similar here is turning the mosaic upside down and still seeing how it fits, right? We disagree. We have
Yes.
established that in the 30, 45 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes is the beauty of it. Right?
Yeah.
Um, how do we fit? What do we do? Where do we go from here?
It's really actually interesting because yesterday also, this woman has been sort of stalking me, um, and she just wanted to have a conversation. She wanted to talk to me. She was just, and every social media thing that I had, she found me and she was like, "Come and please, please, I have to talk to you. I have to talk to you." And on YouTube, she said this, "Oh my God, I got to talk to you. I got to talk to
Mm,
you. I got to talk to you." And she had a site that
mm,
was called something like "Please Me," and it was around. It was in a site for adults. It was a sexual orientation site of having the seven different categories, which I don't even know. I've been a monk most of my life. I don't even know most of this stuff. But giving chat rooms for people of all different flavors of life, from vanilla, which is basically everybody does it the same way, everything's the same, to the most destructive of stuff. And she said, I just want to put your 50 conversations up on my site. I want to have you be there. I want to have you be a voice. I want to have a channel. There was something in me that just didn't feel like here I was asking for different people. Um, but I didn't feel so good. But then I thought, hold it, maybe this is what I'm looking for. Maybe I need to do. And so I asked my wife to take a look at it. And within 3 seconds, she said, I don't think this resonates with what the Mosaic is. I don't think, she can put your things up if she wants to. She can put stuff up, but that I would not affiliate. And yet, um, I haven't felt 100% at peace with my conversation with it because here I was asking for something, and here's something that I'm clearly being given an opportunity to have a possibility to have because she said I just want to blow you I want to blow you up because I think what you're doing is you're having these intimate conversations and I want to introduce you to our people and I want to have maybe some of them will have conversations with you um, and there was some hesitancy and I don't know if that hesitancy was just my prudishness or my hesitancy was my inability to um, accept something other. My wife just said this isn't, it clearly isn't. So
Mm.
it's caused me to really wonder again how open am I really to other points of view? Because I say I am, but it's easy when we're sitting with people that are just
Yeah.
similar to
Yeah.
say, oh, yeah, I'm open. I mean, like, I'm open to what you think, because basically you think what I think, but you're just smarter. And you say certain things that are insightful to me that I wouldn't have thought of. But those are the easy conversations. What do you think about
Right.
that?
The best thing I did before we had the chat first time was not Google you,
Yeah,
right? I could have read your book before, I could have read an excerpt, but then we wouldn't have been strangers, right?
yeah,
Then I would come
totally.
in knowing some things about you. I think, and I wanted to say this last time as well, but we I didn't get a chance, and I think that was the best decision I had that I made was not read anything about you, not read anything on who you are, where you are, what you do, what you have written, what are your thoughts, nothing. Because today you can genuinely do that about anybody, right? You can go on their Instagram, you can go on their Facebook, read everybody, know their mom's name, know their dog. You don't have to, right?
Yeah,
Like I definitely think if you didn't know that, your conversation would have gone a little bit different,
yeah,
you know, or maybe once you know a person firsthand, then you get to know something about them that is very different. Had you had a conversation with her first, an hour long deep conversation, and then you figured out this fact, it would have been very different,
yeah,
right? It would have shaped the way you think about her differently. I don't know, good or bad, but it would have been different.
yeah,
So I think the best thing when you want to stay true to the fact that it's stranger, don't Google them. you
yeah,
know Give
yeah,
them the opportunity to be a stranger. It's only fair.
yeah. Yeah, this wasn't even and I didn't Google. I don't Google anybody that comes into my room because I want to have
Yeah.
that. I want to have that moment where I discover who somebody is. Um, I think the two situations we're talking about, I the one with the born again Christian,
Mm.
I asked for information that goes against my idea of being a stranger,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
in the attempt to find strangers who think differently than I do. And the other
Mm.
one was someone who responded to one of my conversations and just like stalked from all the different places. So there was, and there wasn't a way not to know anything about her. And we weren't having a conversation as strangers. We were having a conversation. She wanted me to do something with her. Maybe all my new conversations should be just stranger conversations. Hmm. Like if someone contacts me, maybe I should say, well, let's just have the conversation in the room. and don't tell me anything about, and just go to that place.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember when we were talking before we went on the conversation and I said I'll leave the introduction to the day then.
Yeah, I do.
And I think that was fair to both of us because
Yeah,
it gave a chance to be true strangers.
yeah,
Because I was coming at a place of what if I met Danny or in Varanasi on the Ghat and we were just sitting, right? We would not have any pre-context.
yeah,
And we are trying to stimulate that in virtual environment, right?
yeah.
So let's just go with open minds and hearts then.
And there's so much that already makes that hard because being an empath, and I believe you're probably empathic too. I mean, I feel you. So being empathic, we already feel each other without having to say anything to. I mean, I just felt you the minute you we connected, and I remember saying, I already know too much about you. I don't want to know any more about you, right? And so it's really interesting because if I can say something, part of our conversation in I can't remember if it was in the room or afterwards was this idea of how easy it is in some ways to talk to someone you don't know and share things with people we don't know, but then how much harder it is to have those same sort of intimate conversations with people that we do know and feel close to. Um,
Yeah, that's me.
that's you. But but maybe it's not because look what's happening now. You haven't. It would be very easy for you to say no. I don't really want to continue to have these conversations. But you are putting your foot forward to say let's see what happens here.
Yeah,
So that maybe was you or could be you or is a part of you or doesn't have to always be you, which is interesting. But I think that there is something that happens when I know that this woman has a site called Please Me, or and that her slant is around giving sexuality a chance to be spoken of um, in in rooms because I'm already thinking my business mind is already thinking how do we create something? What do we do? How do I contribute? What do I
yeah.
How would you go about finding people who are different without asking them to be different? Like how do we break the algorithm of the internet?
Let's play with the algorithm. Okay. I just had this thought and let's play with it.
Beautiful.
I will post something on LinkedIn that is very different from things that I usually post, right? And because the algorithm is used to finding similar people, it will find people that the post speaks to, but I am not that person. So then I have people who think, oh, that's great. Yeah, I want to do that. Or, yeah, let's connect. I think similarly. Like, yeah, great. Let's have a chat. But I don't think like that. So let's play with the algorithm a little bit.
I would love that. And if we let's continue our conversation of how we would phrase that because I would love to do the same thing. And let's
Yeah.
just see how we um, and for me what really resonates true is not that I don't say not that I say something that I'm not, but that I say something that I am that most people don't get to see. So people
Let
have this view of me when they look at me, they either think I'm homeless or Santa Claus or a wise man. Um, but somewhere along the line, there's another guy that lives inside here that is becoming less and less visible by my own workings on it, but is, a guy that's agitated, a guy that's confused, a guy that doesn't know really what's going on, a guy that's a little bit embarrassed by certain things, a guy that, um, like I think about, I'm overweight. I'm a little bit embarrassed by that. I'm not making as much money as I used to. I'm a little bit ashamed of that. those are real things that I can speak about. Like, are you ashamed of the fact that you're not making more money? That, if you are, let's have a conversation, because I am too. Or something, whatever those things are, um, that maybe I can speak from the other side. Maybe I can turn the mosaic upside down and speak from the other
Yeah.
side of that isn't seen as much.
Yeah. I still think we need to figure that out a little bit more,
Yes.
fine tune that a little bit more. Um, but I think, and I know you summarize it, Danny, but I think two things that happened here, like during what we just talked, two beautiful things. I think one is um, I jumped in instantly, didn't I? I said yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people ask me, how does that happen, right? A lot of times people ask me, I think too much, I overthink, I don't know when to say yes. I will analyze, overanalyze situations. I think I've caught myself in action here of jumping in and saying yes. And I just wanted to kind of say it right now and say that the way it happened was my mind just said, I trust the person, I like what they're saying, and I have nothing to lose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was that instant. Initially, in my initial years, I would ask myself these questions. It would take a minute. Now, over the years, it's just become quick, right? It's just become automatic. I get that sense already.
Yeah.
I'm ready to say yes.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a stage where we say yes to more things and no to less things, because we get so comfortable with saying no, right? Or we get so comfortable with avoiding things that
Yeah.
are new or require more effort. And I think the second beautiful thing that happened here was we saw you um, agreeing and breaking your own personal preconceived notions, right? Saying that happened with me and I wasn't comfortable, or I don't agree with it, and how do I change that? And I think that is big, that is powerful, that is important,
Yeah.
because again, that is something that people ask, isn't it? That how do we do that? I know that I don't like this person. How do I get over it? Or I know I don't agree with this practice, but I still want to be okay with it.
Yeah.
This is how you do it, right? You have conversation, you reflect, you are brave to take that step,
Yeah.
and in the end, what you reach is a process of dealing with it later, of getting over it, of accepting it. So I think if I don't know if you're going to put this out or if people are
Yeah.
going to see
I'm
this, but
definitely going to put it out. I mean, with your permission, I'm going to put it out. I'm going to put it up on YouTube, and I'm going to put it up on
go go
Facebook.
go
Because I
go for it.
because here's what I really love. There is no reason in the world that you and I should be having this conversation because we don't know each other well enough. We've just met each other in a 1 hour conversation. We don't really have any thoughts. We don't have any idea of background or history or any of that stuff. And yet, what you said is so beautiful that we all know from our inside if we feel safe with somebody. And
Yeah,
when we feel safe, when we trust them and we feel safe and we may get hurt. Of course, we may get hurt. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But we trust that instinct that allows us to feel safe enough that we just say, yes, I'm going to go another step. I did that with you, and you're
yeah,
doing that with me. And yes, we have the distance of 3,000 miles of land between the west coast and the east coast, and an ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, that separates us. But that distance doesn't mean anything, because right here
yeah,
you are with me right now in this room with me as I speak, and I feel I'm with you right now as we speak. And there's that opening up to what we feel comfortable with and safe enough with to say, come on in a little further, which
yeah,
I keep wanting to circle back to is not something that you naturally would do, because the closer that I would get to you, the more you would, from your own words. Like, I don't see, that's not my
yeah,
experience. But I often have experiences with people that are totally different than the words they tell me about themselves because something happens when we're together that's different than what normally happens when they're with somebody else. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
that totally, yeah, totally makes sense.
And so,
I don't know how it's happening, but it's magic, Danny.
and I don't think, I think the beauty of it is we don't know how it's happening, and that's fine. And we don't have to know how it's happening. But when it happens,
Exactly.
we just walk towards it. We just
Yeah.
keep walking.
But the next time I get on camera with you, I'll definitely put on some makeup because I never know when you record. I mean, this is me after a horrible work day
Yeah.
going to get a bottle of wine.
But let me tell you something. If this is you after a horrible day, you never need to put on makeup because
Oh, come
you
on,
look
you're too sweet.
fabulous. I
You
mean, you
you're
look
too you're too
fabulous.
nice.
But it's true.
You're too nice.
And so, um, let's set up more time. I would love for you, if you can, let's try and sit individually, and then when we come together next time, maybe we can run through some questions that we might ask for those
Yeah,
different.
exactly.
If you do make your post that is different than what it is, please copy me on it or do something so I see it
Of
so
course.
that I can try and arrange something similar. And
Yes. Mm.
my dream with you, which I didn't know before this moment, is to create a space that's large enough that people feel comfortable no matter what they believe walking into that space and feeling that they'll be heard and listened to without a lot of
Yeah.
preconceived ideas of who they should be, who they are, what they've done, what they need to be in order to come in. And
Yeah.
I would love to create a Google free zone where nobody gets Googled in the room until there's a desire
Yes.
to know them more, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yes.
I honestly just want to thank you because I feel so much resonance and um, I feel genuinely happy to be able to have you to have this conversation with. So thank you.
Thank you. I am genuinely happy. Um, Everything that you just said, the way you summarized and you said, this is what we want to create. It's exactly what I want to create.
Wow.
Which surprisingly I did not know
Me either.
3 minutes ago.
Me.
And it just makes so much sense, right? It
Yeah.
just there are things like you have 50 conversations, I have a similar series, and I have similar things, and they're all made for people to come and connect with you, right?
Yeah.
And I think this time the idea is you don't have to connect with me, you just have to tell me who you are and
Yeah.
and be as different as you can be,
Yeah.
be as dissimilar, and I'm gonna wreck my brain and let's do it together. Like you said, I'm gonna think, come back to you, set up a process, and then we'll do it.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
let's do it.
Okay. I wish you could feel my big virtual arms coming and hugging you
Yep,
and
yep,
just
yep.
loving you.
Likewise, likewise, likewise. Thank you so much. It's a genuinely good end to the week and a start to a weekend.
Fabulous. For me too. Big love to you, my new best
Yes.
friend. Okay.
Big love, big love.
Big love.
See you. See
I'll
you
see you
soon. Take
soon.
care.
We'll arrange another time quickly.
We will. Yes.
Okay. Ciao.